What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question comes from Casey Johnston, who asks if Moses Ingram could be playing an Inquisitor in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
So this all kind of is coming from, was it Monday, when they announced the cast of Kenobi, and Moses Ingram is in the cast, and then on her personal Instagram, I believe, she made a comment of like, I play with lightsabers. And because Star Wars fans do this with everything, they started going like, well, what does this mean? Is she trying to tell us something? Honestly, I'm kind of guessing probably not. I don't think there was any hidden clue. It might be that she's playing a lightsaber-wielding character, but in my opinion, she's probably just trying to say like, I'm in a Star War, but saying it in a fun way.
Yeah, I saw a lot of theories going around about her, and that also kind of sounds like just like normal non-Star Wars obsessed people. If they were to say like, oh, I'm doing something Star Wars related, I could see them saying something like, I play with lightsabers.
Yeah,
and then,
or pew pew pew. Or
like, yeah, not like I'm literally getting to use lightsabers in this show. Like, I'm sure she didn't mean for that to be like a hint, hint, wink, wink, but maybe it is.
Maybe it is. I mean, I've seen, yes, Inquisitor thrown around.
Young Ahsoka.
Yeah, young Ahsoka I've seen thrown around. Both of those ideas I'm very into. I would love an Inquisitor in this show. Now
that we have Rosario as Ahsoka and she's getting her own show, I am totally down to get young Ahsoka. I don't want her to be in it too much because she's in everything and we talk about that all the time, but it would just be cool to see young Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, like,
whether it's a vision or a flashback to the Clone Wars, which I think you have to do that at some point, because
I definitely think we're going to see flashbacks.
You're not going to, like, don't get Hayden Christensen and then shut him in that suit. Like, that just doesn't, to me, make sense. He was the man in the suit in Revenge of the Sith because he wanted to be, but for, like, the whole series, it's like, I just feel like for production purposes, they would have cut costs and just said like, no, it's just a tall man in this suit and we got James Earl Jones. If Hayden is there, we got to see his face at some point.
Yeah.
Now he could be just like broken mask or in the back to tank, something like that. But a flashback or a vision in the Force of Obi-Wan revisiting old memories, like that sounds great. Inquisitor, I also love that idea. Because for me, this is something that I will get over, that I'm like, okay, Obi-Wan needs a really good reason to leave Luke alone at Tatooine. So I kind of love this idea that an Inquisitor gets like a hint of, there's some Force-sensitive kid here, and I'm going to go report on that. And he's like, oh boy, and has to chase him down. Like,
yeah.
So an Inquisitor would be a fun idea to explore.
Mr. J.D. Rice wants to know which new cast members we're most excited to see in Kenobi.
Kumail is kind of a weird one for me. Like, I was surprised, and at this point, he's been in a lot of stuff that he's a more well-known name, and I was just surprised to see him on the list, but I do like him, and I'm excited. I'm always excited to see nerds get to play in Star Wars, like self-professed nerds. Now they're in Star Wars. I loved it for him when he got to be in X-Files as well, because he's a huge X-Files fan. So seeing stuff like that always makes me happy.
I'm going to go ahead and say Kitster confirmed for the Kenobi series.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Kumail's going to come in as Kitster.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I honestly, if I had to guess, think he'll voice a droid. I feel like he's got a unique voice. When you hear it in animation or something, you're like, oh, it's Kumail. So that's kind of my guess.
All right. I am excited to see Indira Varma. She was in Game of Thrones. She's just a cool lady. I saw a bunch of people saying like, oh, she's got the perfect facial structure for Ventress. And it's like, oh.
I can see it.
I agree.
I can see it. And if they do flashbacks and stuff, I don't want the whole show to be flashbacks, but,
I also don't expect all of these people to be like already known characters. Of course, we've got Bonnie Peace,
PS,
and Joel Edgerton. Really excited to see them coming back as Owen and Beru.
Right. Those are of the cast members announced. They're not new, as
Sure.
the question asks, but I was very excited to just know that, yes, Owen and Beru are back.
Yeah, and we can wildly speculate about who these other people might be cast as, but they might also just be brand new characters.
I think most of them will be. It's so hard to figure any of this out. I think they're probably all going to be new people, and it's kind of pointless to be like, well, they could be this person, but, it's part of the fun.
Caleb Sexton asks if Han ever would have defected if he hadn't been kicked out of the Imperial Flight Academy.
So, yes. I mean, the question kind of puts forth that all Han wanted to do was fly, and that if he were allowed to do so, would he have just stayed in the Empire?
Well, his goal was to find Kira, so
yes,
he probably would have stolen a ship or bought a ship or got his hands on a ship and left.
That's exactly what he tries to do in the comic Han Solo Imperial Cadet.
Boom.
He is not successful, obviously, but also he kind of comes to, like, that's his plan, but he comes to care about his other squad mates because, he's Han Solo and he has a heart and he pretends to be this loner, but, like, he always winds up caring for the people around him. So that's kind of what gets him stuck in the Imperial Academy until he messes up enough times and they kick him out. But yes, I do think that eventually his plan was to get away from the Empire and get back to Kira. That's it.
Yeah.
So I do think that there would have been a defection at some point.
Umber Temporis wants to know if the First Order ever came into conflict with the Chiss Ascendency in the unknown regions.
There's plenty of room for that to happen, but I'm going to guess no. I think that the Chiss would have wiped the First Order out.
Yeah, they would have been like, wait, really? That's cute what you're doing over
right.
there. That's cute.
It kind of depends because, like, the Chiss are very, if you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. But Thrawn was very interested in the idea of the Death Star and, like, this, you're making weapons that can blow up planets. Interesting. If they caught wind of Starkiller Base, I just don't think they would have let that fly, even with their culture of, like, no preemptive strikes. That feels to me like, okay, we shouldn't let this happen.
Sure, yeah.
And the Chiss at that point are just, from everything that we can tell, far bigger than the First Order as they're kind of like rebuilding.
Yeah, and I feel like they're definitely smart enough to not be found out by the First Order, too. Like, maybe they did know about the First Order, but maybe they were just like, we're just going to let that play out, see where it goes.
They might.
We'll be way over here.
Yeah, either way, like, it just seems... It seems like if the First Order had provoked the Chiss, they would have been gone. So... And also, if they came into contact with the Chiss, I feel like they would have provoked them.
Yeah. Now I have to, like, insert Palpatine into all of my questions in the Skywalker timeline. So I'm like, did Palpatine know about the Chiss Ascendency?
Oh, he
and,
definitely did, yeah.
What did he...
I don't know that he knew where it was.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if they were in contact at all.
Well, no, I doubt that.
Hey, man, what's up?
I doubt that. But I could kind of see him figuring out from Thrawn where the Chiss Ascendency was, and then the First Order would just know to avoid that spot in the unknown regions.
Yeah. Brandon Velasquez asks, what Star Wars action figure in the Toy Story universe would handle learning they're just toys the best?
I saw this question, I was like, what is this? This is so fun.
So we're talking about a Star Wars action figure that is in the Toy Story universe that is basically realizing that it's a toy and not an actual...
Pretend that every time we leave this room, my action figures come to life, like in Toy Story.
This is just a whole big Spider-Man meme happening right here.
All the bigs pointing at each other.
Yeah.
So Of all the Star Wars characters, if one of them figured out that they were an action figure, they were just a toy, I think the one that would basically shrug their shoulders and be like, that makes sense, is 3PO.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's already like, it's my lot in life to serve masters, and I'm also just a toy. Like, what? Nothing else is new. This is just, it's basically the same.
My first thought was Vader, because he's kind of half toy anyway. I mean, not toy, but like he's half of a machine. Uh-huh. He's got a lot of buttons.
Yeah.
He's like very much played with by Palpatine.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. My first thought for the person who would handle it the worst was Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
He would, no, you are a toy. That's the first line that came into my head.
Mm-hmm. He tries to do the lightning and a little plastic thing, just like...
Oh, man, I had like some toy back in the day where you'd like, it basically you'd hit a switch on the back and it would shoot sparks out of it. I'm like...
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Right? Like, it just occurred to me about how dangerous that would be. I'm like, I can't believe I had stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy. I'll have to find it.
Now all I can think of is Boba Fett and that toy that was like discontinued because the rocket was a choking hazard. Uh-huh. All I can think of now is that scene in Mandalorian where Boba Fett flicks down his visor thing and like leans over and shoots his rocket at the ship, but he does that as a toy and it shoots out and it just goes and he's like, oh man.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films. And we're also doing audio commentaries for the Clone Wars. And this week's episode is The Soft War, I think. Molly made me forget it. But that's available right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Dwarf King asks how call signs work for Rebel pilots. Is it skill-based or random?
I think it's kind of a mix of both. I feel like it's been handled both ways in the X-Wing books. That's kind of where I'm going to. But like Corran Horn was one of the most gifted pilots Rogue Squadron had. And in the first book, he was Rogue 9. But a lot of that was due to the fact that he was like not quite a team player early on. He had to learn, how to work as a team and not just be the hotshot pilot himself. And there's also an aspect of trying to mix up wingmates that'll work well together. So sometimes someone that may have been a more skilled pilot would get bumped back to be with someone that would balance them out. So kind of a mixture.
Yeah, I was thinking it might have more to do with just experience level, seniority maybe. Because I was thinking, like with Obi-Wan and Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan is Red Leader, right? And then when I think about the Resistance call signs, then it's like everything goes out the door because Nine Nub is...
That's true.
Red 3?
Red 3, yeah. I mean, the real answer in the movies is there's no real answer, or else Biggs would have been Red Leader, obviously. And so, like, Luke, who'd never been in an X-Wing, was Red 5, and there were plenty of others behind him. And in that case, it was just like, well, Red 5 just died, and so you step into that spot.
Yeah, I love that they took the time to show Red 5 being shot down and killed in Rogue One.
It broke my heart.
Huh?
Broke my heart.
Well, I just like the continuity aspect that they show Red 5 being killed and then he gets replaced in New Hope. So
it's a fun little connection. But, the books sometimes try to make a little more sense of that stuff to varying degrees of success. But, like, literally, I think the answer is just kind of random / it's a mix.
Jacob the Hodge wants to know how Snoke chose the Amaxine station as his base in the comics.
So a little quick background in Into the Dark, the main setting for that story is this abandoned space station, ancient space station, and then jump forward 200 something years, 250, to the Rise of Kylo Ren comic. And we see that Snoke has used that same space station as his kind of base of operations. So how did he come to choose it? I think it's just because it is kind of a little bastion of the dark side. That's what we learned throughout the course of Into the Dark. But really, we don't have any connective tissue other than both stories were written by High Republic authors. Claudia Gray, obviously Into the Dark is a High Republic book, and Charles Soule wanted to make a connection with the stories they were about to unleash. So he put it in there, and it's just a fun little thing.
Yeah. We could spend all day questioning Snoke's like ideas and plans, whether or not they were planted there by Palpatine or if they're his own. Maybe this was a place that Palpatine knew about.
I assume he would, yeah.
And knew, he wouldn't get messed with in this particular place. That Snoke would thrive there, so.
Yeah. The Republic knew about it in Into the Dark, so then it would make sense that the down the line Chancellor of the Republic would know about it. And obviously Palpatine is interested in learning about all dark side things, so yeah, he probably knew about it and was like, okay, well, I created this Snoke being, I gotta put him somewhere. Ooh, that would be cool.
Matthew Ciccarello asks if there were any Jedi that we were surprised to learn that survived Order 66.
Oppo Rancisis kind of caught me off guard. Just because, I don't know, that snake dude from The Phantom Menace in some episodes of the Clone Wars? He had a lot more to do in Legends comics, but I was still just kind of like, wonder how he got away.
My pick for this is definitely, and I surprised, but then immediately excited because she was pretty badass as Jocasta Nu.
Oh yeah. That, I agree with you, because I had the same reaction of just I guess maybe not so much surprise, but the reveal of her with that lightsaber gun was just, that's what really surprised me. Was that, yeah, she's a badass, because when you think back in Attack of the Clones, she's just kind of stuck up and, well, if it's not in the archives, it doesn't exist. And it's fun getting to see a new take on her. And now, yeah, I look at her completely different.
Mark DuPont wants to know if Skier still worries about the Scorekeeper or other aspects of Trandoshan culture.
So the Scorekeeper is kind of the Trandoshan god that keeps track of all your hunts and kills and stuff. Not a very Jedi thing. So I would guess no. I doubt Skier has any sort of belief towards the Scorekeeper. I think he has probably traded any of that belief for the Force instead.
Maybe he transformed it into it being a scorekeeper of lives saved.
Oh, I really like that.
He's like, I can interpret Trandoshan traditions any way I want.
That's really nice.
You're welcome.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.